Lena sat in the command chair of the Orion, her gaze fixed on the view screen. The stars stretched out before her, a tapestry of light against the infinite darkness of space. She had traveled across the galaxy, from the bustling trade routes of the core worlds to the uncharted fringes of known space, but this mission was different. There was something about the signal that had drawn her in, a faint whisper in the void. That seemed to resonate deep within her soul. It had started as a routine scan, a faint blip on the ship's sensors as she passed through a remote sector of the galaxy. But the signal was unlike anything she had encountered before. It wasn't just a transmission, it was a pattern, a complex series of pulses that seemed to follow a deliberate sequence. The more she studied it, the more it felt like a message, one that was both ancient and urgent. Lena had always been driven by curiosity, a need to explore the unknown and uncover the mysteries of the universe. So she set a course for the source of the signal, a distant star system on the edge of the galaxy. The journey had taken weeks, but now, as the Orion approached the system, she could feel a sense of anticipation building within her. The star at the center of the system was an old, dying sun, its light dim and flickering. Orbiting it was a single planet, Epsilon 5. The planet was shrouded in a thick atmosphere, its surface obscured by swirling clouds of ionized particles. But even from this distance, Lena could see the faint glow of the auroras that danced across its skies, a mesmerizing display of violet and emerald light. As the Orion descended into orbit around Epsilon 5, Lena's senses lit up with activity. The signal was coming from the surface, stronger and more insistent than before. It was as if the planet itself was calling out to her, drawing her in with its mysterious allure. "Let's see what you've got for me," Lena murmured to herself as she initiated the landing sequence. The Orion touched down on a flat expanse of crystalline ground, the ship's landing struts sinking slightly into the smooth surface. Lena powered down the engines and stood up, grabbing her gear before making her way to the airlock. As the hatch opened, she was greeted by a blast of charged air, filled with the faint hum of electromagnetic energy. The landscape of Epsilon 5 was unlike anything she had ever seen. Towering crystalline structures loomed on all sides, their surfaces glowing with an inner light. The ground beneath her feet was smooth, etched with strange, shifting patterns that seemed to change with every step she took. And in the air, she could hear the whispers, a soft, almost imperceptible murmur that seemed to resonate in her mind. Lena took a deep breath and adjusted her helmet, trying to focus. The signal was stronger now, coming from deeper within the planet. She activated her handheld scanner and began to make her way toward the source. The path led her through a forest of towering crystals, their surfaces reflecting the light of the auroras above. The whispers grew louder as she walked, forming words and phrases that seemed to echo in her thoughts. They were disjointed, fragmented, like the memories of a long-forgotten dream. Finally, after what felt like hours, Lena reached the edge of a vast clearing. At the center stood a massive obelisk, its surface covered in ancient symbols and runes. It pulsed with a blinding light, growing stronger as she approached, and the whispers became almost deafening in her mind. Lena stopped in her tracks, her heart pounding. She had read about the Varalthur in ancient texts, an advanced civilization that had once ruled the galaxy, their knowledge of quantum mechanics and interdimensional travel unmatched. But they had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only fragments of their technology and the whispers of their legacy. Could this obelisk be one of their creations? And if so, what had happened here on Epsilon 5? As Lena stood before the obelisk, the signal reached its peak, a high-pitched whine that sent a shiver down her spine. The symbols on the obelisk began to shift and change, forming new patterns that glowed with an intense light. The ground beneath her feet trembled, and she could feel a surge of energy emanating from the structure. Suddenly, the whispers stopped. The air around her grew still, and the light from the obelisk dimmed. Lena took a step back, her mind racing. What had she just activated? What had she unlocked? Before she could react, the ground beneath her gave way, and she was plunged into darkness. She tumbled through the void, her thoughts a chaotic swirl of fear and confusion. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the fall ended. Lena found herself in a vast chamber, the walls lined with more of the glowing crystals. The air was thick with energy, and the whispers had returned, louder than ever. But now, they carried a different tone, one of urgency and warning. In the center of the chamber stood another obelisk, smaller than the one above but no less imposing. It pulsed with a rhythmic beat, like the heartbeat of the planet itself. Lena approached it cautiously, her scanner buzzing with data. As she reached out to touch the obelisk, the whispers in her mind coalesced into a single, coherent message: the darkness is coming. The nexus must remain sealed. Lena's heart skipped a beat. The Varelther had discovered something on the other side of their dimensional bridge, something malevolent and dangerous. They had sealed the nexus to protect the galaxy, but the seal was weakening. And now, the fate of Epsilon 5, and perhaps the entire galaxy, rested in her hands. With a deep breath, Lena began to work. The obelisk responded to her touch, its symbols shifting and changing under her fingers. She could feel the energy coursing through the structure, a powerful force that resonated with the whispers in her mind. She wasn't sure how much time passed as she worked, her focus entirely on the task at hand. The chamber grew darker, the air colder, as the darkness encroached on the light. But Lena didn't waver. She knew what was at stake. Finally, with a final surge of energy, the obelisk sealed itself, the symbols locking into place. The chamber filled with light, and the whispers faded into silence. Lena took a step back, her breath coming in ragged gasps. It was done. The nexus was sealed, the darkness contained. But the cost had been great. Epsilon 5 would remain a haunted world, its secrets buried deep within its crystalline core. Lena stood alone in the chamber, the weight of what she had done settling on her shoulders. She had answered the call of the whispers, but in doing so, she had become part of their legacy. As she made her way back to the surface, the light of the auroras guiding her path, Lena couldn't help but wonder what other secrets the galaxy held, and whether she would be ready to face them when they called out to her once again.